Say, I'm glad to be with you again. Happy to have a chance to chat with you for a moment, well, about 5 minutes to be more correct, about something that's on my mind these days. In my morning devotional time, along with the reading of Scripture and prayer, I'm currently reading some material from a British preacher who died in about the mid-1930s, 75, 80 years ago. It's a long while ago, I guess, and yet his material seems so fresh and wonderful to me. I'd never heard of the man until a year or so ago when one of my students made reference to him in a class. And when the student told me that he had written a dissertation about this man, I became fascinated and asked to read the paper the student had written. The preacher's name was A.E. Witham. I think that's the way you'd pronounce it. I don't want to take too many chances on a British name because sometimes an American may not do justice, but W-H-I-T-H-A-M would be the spelling in case you want to follow it for your own pursuit. I had not heard of that man before. That's interesting to me simply because I've read a fair amount of the preachers of 20th century England and Scotland, and his name hadn't come to my attention. I know, of course, that one of perhaps the best-known theologian philosopher of 20th century England could well have been Archbishop William Temple. So I've read some of his things. And one of my favorite preachers is from that century, a great, great soul whose love of Christ and whose preaching, which I've heard only on tapes or read in his books, have blessed me. There was a great preacher in England named Soper and another named Whitehead. They came just slightly after this man, these several preachers, and some of them before, but I had never heard, in the midst of all those other names, of the man named Witham. I like what I'm reading of his, and maybe what I like especially is something that one of his daughters said about him. The book that I have of his collected writings was brought together by his daughter, or one of his daughters, after his death. The daughter wrote a little introduction to the book, and in it said something like this: "My father," she said, "was a master of life." I like that. I ponder what it is that all of us might seek to be masters of, geniuses about, successes in. A good many people seek to be a master in a certain profession. That's honorable. And others simply want to be a master of music or of literature. And I certainly honor that. I'm glad for those who are. And some, of course, become masters in entertainment. I marvel at those people who have a gift to get a crowd to listen, to laugh, to hold on to what they say by their skills in entertainment. But this was a man who had a mastery of life, had a talent for life, a talent for life. Because, you see, all the other stuff is likely to be, well, nothing or next to nothing if we don't also finally have a talent for living. I thought it was especially important because the word came from his daughter, someone who had watched him over the years doing his thing, not simply as a parish pastor in the Methodist Church in England, not simply as a fairly good scholar who left some books behind, not only a community leader, which he was, but who saw him as a father, as somebody that was to be lived around day after day, at the breakfast table or the dinner table, as someone whose daily conduct she had observed. And she noticed that he had a talent for life. I think that might be one of the finest definitions that could be made for a true saint. A saint has a talent for life. They know what to do with these 24 hours a day, 60 minutes to an hour They know what to do with those because they have a talent for life itself. I wish that God would grant all of us that. And God would so willingly if we make ourselves available to God, so that as each day is lived, we live it like a genius with a talent for life itself. That's what I've been thinking about today, and I hope that it will be of some use to you too. I look forward to seeing you again in a week, and meanwhile, God be with you.